Guess we're going to us today without an.
The following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
And we're back after a brief ID, and there's a little music too. Hey, here we are. All right,
yeah.
It's
yeah.
Wednesday, the Mondayest Wednesday ever, apparently. But you know, Mo, what's going on, man?
Welcome to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. It is Wednesday, even though it feels like Monday.
Can you not hear me?
And I can hear you. I couldn't at first, but I can now.
Okay. Well,
now I can't. You're in and out.
Like a fast food
Can you
restaurant.
hear me?
I hear you fine.
In and out? Good. That's good to know.
I can hear you. We can hear you on this end. Both of y'all.
Yeah, well, if Mo can't hear me,
That's
then we
good
might
to
have a problem.
Yeah, no
I guess. I don't know. Oh, well.
I can hear you right now.
Well, let's just hope that continues then. How's that? Oh, man.
That would be good.
What a day. What a day. Well, what's been going on with you in the last few minutes? Anything exciting?
Just getting ready for the show and everything that we've got going on, that I've got going on afterwards. So, yeah, it's a busy Wednesday.
Yeah, and an unfortunate Wednesday as we just witnessed the Atlanta Braves losing. Always.
Yeah, I can turn this off now.
Always fun. Always fun. We got a lot going on today, and we are scheduled to have Heather as always on Wednesday to talk a little NASCAR. We will also talk with voice of Ohio State, the Buckeyes, Paul Keels. He'll join us in the second half of the show. Today, though, Mo, I think we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the top story today being the death of the greatest announcer of all time, Vin Scully.
Absolutely. 94, 95? Died at the age of 94 last night. I saw a stat that at the time of his retirement following the 2016 baseball season as the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Vin Scully had been involved with baseball for 45.5% of its professional baseball history. So
that's incredible. And he was incredible. He was not just the voice of the Dodgers. He was the voice of baseball. I mean, if you heard Vin Scully's voice, you knew that it was an important event. It was something that you were going to want to listen to, whether you had any interest in what was happening or not. Because outside of Paul Harvey, Vin Scully may be the greatest storyteller of all time.
Yeah, and there were numerous examples of that storytelling ability that just kind of flooded Twitter and social media following the news of his death last night. One former Atlanta Brave, which I didn't remember this, but former Atlanta Braves catcher Johnny Gomes, he wove in a story during a Gomes at bat in a game at Dodger Stadium that involved Gomes being attacked by a wolf at a young age. That was just incredible. And the way
the one where Bumgarner was pitching?
No. I don't remember. No, it wouldn't have been Bumgarner because it was the Dodgers. But I mean, it was just the way he wove his stories in between the game action and didn't lose the game action was just incredible, and the timing of it, and he always seemed to get just enough time to get it finished. I don't know if the game was somehow waiting on him or what it was, but it was just incredible. He was incredible, and will certainly be a huge loss.
Yeah, I used to tell people when it was because, obviously for those who don't know, Vin Scully did baseball games by himself, and that's not easy thing to do. Just ask Jeff Him, I'm sure, or any minor league announcer. But
Not a whole lot of color announcers in the minors. Yeah.
no, but one of the things, he would do so much prep of not just the Dodgers, but of the opposing team. I mean, he could tell you what the opposing team's, sixth inning relief pitcher who never gets in's grandmother cooked on Sunday afternoons for supper when he was a kid. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you got with Vin Scully, and you just don't get that anymore. I mean, even the good ones don't do that anymore.
The depth of personal knowledge, like you said. I mean, again, telling a story about Johnny Gomes getting attacked by a wolf when he was a kid, and who knows that? Why do they know it?
There was a story, and there was a story he did on Bumgarner when Bumgarner was with the Giants. He was talking about Madison and his wife killing a snake. And like you said, wove it into the game, didn't miss a pitch. He would finish a sentence, 1-1 pitch, slider away, 2-1, continue the story. 2-1 pitch
and come back to the story. Yeah.
And just keep coming back to the story. And that was what, made him so sensational. But on some of the biggest calls in baseball and in football.
Listening to the Braves game earlier today when Chip Carey and Brian Jordan and Paul Bird were discussing Vin Scully, and one of them made the point that you're typically told not to get into stories with 2 outs, but Vin Scully did it regularly and got away with it. So, I mean, it was just
like you said, the game was waiting on him. And, and it's almost like the game respected him as much as he respected the game. And that's hard to do. You can't. There aren't many out there who fit that bill anymore. And so, obviously,
so baseball said, "I'm gonna let you finish, Vin."
Yeah, and they did. Baseball let him finish. He walked out on his terms. Had an opportunity to call the Dodgers. All the way up to 2018? I don't remember. I don't think he called the World Series in
16,
2020.
I think it was
16. Yeah.
No, 16.
But he was iconic. He was as much baseball as any one person could be. If not for him, I don't think the Dodgers would have made the transition to Los Angeles so smoothly. I think he brought the game of baseball to Los Angeles and explained it to them in a way that made them fall in love with it as much as anyone. And that's, even though it's the Dodgers, it's something that I will certainly not forget. And those of us who are in the, in this business of talking into microphones about sports, he is the end all be all. He's the gold standard.
No doubt.
And that is what you aspire to be.
When you said icon, I mean, I think that just kind of explains it perfectly. I think that's the perfect description of Vin Scully and what he did at such a high level for such a long period of time. He got that job when he was like 20-something years old. Can you imagine somebody becoming the voice of the LA Dodgers at even 29? I mean, in their 20s at all. It's just, it's not done. And so his ability at a young age and to continue it late in his life was just unbelievable.
Absolutely. So that is our top story today. We need to get quickly into yesterday's results and today's schedule as we have Heather Williams waiting on the line with us. So let's dive in to today's rundown.
In pro baseball action on Tuesday night, it was Cincinnati defeating Miami 2-1. It was the Pirates over the Brewers 5-3. Atlanta with a 13-1 win over Philadelphia. St. Louis defeats the Cubs 6-0. And in minor league baseball on Tuesday, the Sounds opened with an 8-3 win at Norfolk.
In WNBA action, Connecticut defeated Phoenix 87-63. It was New York 102, Los Angeles 73. Los Angeles over Las Vegas 83-73, and Dallas down Chicago 84-78.
Today's baseball schedule, one game has completed, as we noted, the Phillies with a 3-1 win over the Braves to split that short 2-game series. Cincinnati plays at Miami. That's a 5:40 start. At 6:05, Milwaukee plays at Pittsburgh, and the Cubs are at St. Louis at 6:45. Also tonight in minor league baseball, the Sounds are at Norfolk. That's a 5:35 start, and a Thursday morning game as Milwaukee plays at Pittsburgh. That game begins at 11:35 Central Time.
That's correct. In WNBA action tonight, Indiana is at Atlanta. They'll be on NBA TV at 6 p.m. You can catch Los Angeles at New York again in a second half of their 2-game set at 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Minnesota is at Seattle tonight. That's on NBA TV at 9 p.m. in that doubleheader. In MLS action, DC United is at Charlotte at 6 o'clock. It's CF Montreal at Columbus, not Columbia. Had a Freudian slip there. I was like, they're not at the Columbia Lines tonight. 6:30 first touch in Columbus, Ohio. Inter Miami is at San Jose at 9:30. And Nashville SC is at Portland also at 9:30. You can see that one on My TV 30, I would presume, if not ESPN Plus.
And in American Legion, I'm sorry?
So you want to finish it off?
I will. American Legion Southeast Regional Tournament action over in Asheboro, North Carolina. Post 19 gets off to a rough start, falling to Evans, Georgia, 5-0. So they drop into the losers bracket of that double elimination event over in North Carolina.
There you go. That's going to do it for today's rundown. We will take a quick break. When we come back, though, we do talk a little NASCAR, as we like to do each and every Wednesday with Heather Williams. We will find out what she thought about Indianapolis and what she thinks about what's going on this weekend. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be right back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton, and we are joined by Heather Williams talking a little NASCAR as always. Heather, what's going on?
Just another day in the life of living the dream and talking a little racing with you guys.
Seems a little less hectic than the last time we spoke with you.
Yeah, it's a little quieter today, knock on wood. Let's keep it that way.
Well,
knocking on all the wood.
Yeah, well, before we get into NASCAR, Heather, I want to go back a couple of days because Monday was certainly not quiet for you.
No, no, it was not. There was a pretty major shakeup at ETSU as far as the athletic department goes. Started at about 9:30 when they announced that the athletic director was resigning effective immediately, and then about a half hour later, they announced that the women's basketball coach was going to be fired in 2 weeks and was on paid suspension.
Why the 2 weeks?
Yeah, wait a minute.
I think he has 2 weeks to appeal. I think that's what that's about. So
okay,
they the intent to fire it. He can appeal. So
Okay.
yeah, it has to do with Title IX violations. We don't know what the specific violations are, only that he made an improper rule, not keeping with the university's mission. And there are possible NCAA violations. They're investigating that based on the complaint filed by 2 players, former players.
Okay. So pretty explosive stuff there, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it just, first of all, it came out of nowhere. None of us really knew that was about to come down. The athletic department director stepping down. He's an ETSU grad, played football at ETSU. So that came out of left field. And then any of us that have dealt with Coach Harris, I mean, he was very personable guy, good to deal with as far as the media goes, really accessible. So, to have these allegations, I guess, none of us saw that coming. None of us, knew that this investigation was going on. ETSU did a good job of keeping it under wraps when it was going on. And the players, unlike with the softball situation, none of the players really talked about it. It just popped up, and there it was, and made for an interesting day. Now, the university, I will say this, the university, they reiterated today, because we talked with the interim director, which is Richard Sander, and he was the athletic director previous to Scott Carter, who resigned. He reiterated today that the 2 incidents are not related. Scott Carter's resignation and the basketball coach's eventual firing are not connected or related. Like the old Fox News saying used to go, I'll report, you decide.
There you go.
All righty. From there, I guess we probably should go to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting race. This was obviously, like you said, adding the extra road course and Indianapolis, just kind of adds to the uniqueness of the schedule throughout. But Tyler Reddick getting a win certainly was not expected. That would have been the last. That would have been the last car in that team I would have expected to get that win.
I don't know. I mean, he's run well on the road courses this year, and I said a few weeks ago, I don't know if it was here or somewhere else, that once he got that first win, he was going to start ticking off wins. He's that talented. He did that in the Xfinity Series. I always think that when you're a driver with that level of talent, you need to get that first one, that first monkey off your back, and then you can go out there and just race. But as long as people are saying he's never won a race, there's just pressure and pressure and pressure. So I'm not surprised at all that he won, just because he's so talented. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins another race before the year's over.
Oh, absolutely not. It's just typically you don't expect him to be up front coming out of, you've obviously got, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson who tend to run up front, especially Chase in the road courses. But
then the next gen car, those two drivers, I mean, Chase has run up front, but he hasn't won a road course race, I don't think. And Kyle Larson certainly has not had the year that he had last year. The guys that have run up consistently at the road courses this year have been Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick, and Daniel Suarez. Those have been the guys more so than the traditional road course guys, which I think makes it kind of interesting. Tyler's 2 wins this year have come on the road course now, and he's been up front at most of the other ones, at least for part of the race. So there might be a little bit of a changing of the guards. I mean, but when I talk to drivers, they talk about how there are so many guys that can run road courses well because there are so many road courses. It's not like the old days where a guy would jump out, just like Boris said, drive his car for the weekend because they didn't want to mess with it. I mean, there's so many road courses, and every point is so important to the current playoff structure that guys have had to become good road course drivers. Another guy that's really good on the road courses, and he came from an open wheel background, so that's where that comes from, is Austin Cindric, who finished second. I mean, he's a fantastic road course driver. His dad is big up in Penske Indy cars, and if he wasn't so tall, he'd probably be riding an Indy car instead. But there's just a lot of guys that can compete these days.
Speaking of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Tyler Reddick wins the Big Machine Vodka 400 at the Brickyard powered by Florida Georgia line, followed by Austin Cindric. Burton finishes third, Gilliland fourth, and D. Wallace Jr. on the results that I'm reading places fifth in the 23.
I mean, you talk about unexpected. How about all 3 rookies in the top 5? I mean, you don't see that very often. And then Bubba Wallace, who admittedly is not a good road course driver, but he did run the Xfinity Series race before he got crashed out of that to get some practice and some laps in. And I think it's incredible what I talked about on my TV show this week, that how much better the 23 team has been running since the pit crew swap. That week in Atlanta, they had some issues, but since then they have been in the top 10 and top 5 2 of the 3 weeks. I mean, and it's worked out for the 20 as well. They've gotten a win since then. So, I mean, the flip-flop of the crew seems to be a win-win for everybody. And, I mean, it's nice that that's worked out.
I'm curious.
It's funny what happens when you've got 4 wheels, huh?
Right?
It's a little easier to drive. Yeah, I am curious because sometimes, we talk about it in every sport, Mo, the change of environment, right? The change of environment for not just, Bubba, but for those pit crew guys who they'd probably lost confidence in themselves, and they knew that Bubba had no confidence in them. So, they needed a little change in getting, they got that first loose wheel out of the way in that first week. And then ever since then, they've been really good. And it certainly has, like you said, been a win-win for everybody. And I think we're finally seeing that maybe Bubba Wallace can actually drive. Go figure.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? All those Truck Series wins and the success he had in the lower series actually means something. He actually can drive a race car. I do think because my partner on the TV show, who is a crew chief in the Truck Series and the former Cup Series crew chief, he really believes that a lot of it was mental, and that the change for both teams has really been a mental change. Because when I talked to Christopher Bell in Atlanta, he's like, everybody's focusing on the 23 and the changes. He's like, but our year ain't exactly been great, and our pit stops haven't actually been amazing either. So I think both teams needed to change, just a little shake up, and I mean, sometimes the mental part of it is more important than the performance of the pit crews. I mean, obviously the performance, especially on the 23 of the pit crews, is much better. But if Bubba's not thinking so much about, oh gosh, how many cars I'm going to have to pass to fix what my pit crew does, then he can just go out there and drive. So I think that makes a huge difference for both guys.
Speaking with Heather Williams, our NASCAR analyst here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. And Heather, we move on to Michigan this weekend, and I'm looking here at NASCAR.com, and there's a headline. It goes to a video. Blaney Suarez beef at Indy Road Course. Ryan Blaney and Daniel Suarez, they got something going on?
Well, I think
took Heather's pick out.
Yeah, I think that he was mad. I think a lot of people probably beefed at that, but I think specifically it was some of the moves that people were making going into turn one. Anyone that watched the race knows that every time they charged into turn one, they tried to do it about 5 wide in a 2-lane track, which you can figure out how that worked out. Not very well. And one of those incidents was included Suarez, and Blaney got the bad end of that. So I think that he's just upset. A lot of people were upset about that move by Suarez. A lot of people were mad by similar moves by Joey Logano that took people 4 and 5 wide. So I don't know. It was crazy. I don't know why they kept thinking over and over again they could fit 5 cars through that turn, but they darn sure did try every restart.
Ross Chastain said, screw it, I'm just going to make my own track.
Yes, he did.
So
it worked out so well for him.
Well, it has not worked out, but explain kind of the situation that he found himself in, because apparently it was not gone over in the driver's meeting, or is that what I'm hearing?
They didn't specifically address the access road, which is what he took to
it's an access road. What else do you use it for?
I'm accessing. Yeah.
They specifically talked about you can't go off track to improve your position, and a lot of it was made about Bubba Wallace because Bubba cut through the grass, but he pretty much came back on the track in the same position and he went out. He improved, I think, 1 position, and NASCAR in the next restart actually put him behind the car that he improved his position from. But in Ross Chastain's case, he went full speed on the straight access road while everybody else is doing S curves, came back in and went off the access road like 9th, 10th, 11th, and came back on in first. And just was like, hey, here we go. And they were like, no, we didn't talk about this specifically, but no.
I mean, you should have known. It's supposed to be obvious, man.
I mean, I understand what happened. He went in there and saw them all wrecking and said, I'm not going to do this. I think if he would have just, instead of racing hard for the lead against I think it was Tyler Reddick at the time, if he would have just dropped back even a position or 2 and given the position back, they probably wouldn't have penalized him. But because he just kept racing going like nothing happened, that's why he got penalized.
That makes sense.
I guess Chastain was in that better to get forgiveness than permission frame of mind there.
Well, and Joey Logano said in his radio show that he does on Sirius XM this week that's been something that's been in the back of people's mind for 2 years trying that. He said Chastain was just the first person getting enough to see if he could get away with
it. Hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's what I'm saying.
I back in the mid 2000s, Tony Stewart called Carl Edwards NASCAR's Eddie Haskell, which I thought was a hysterical nickname. But I honestly believe in all reality that Ross Chastain is actually NASCAR's Eddie Haskell. He will do wreck you, not feel bad about it, try to cheat, cut across the racecraft, whatever, and jump out and smile and go, want some watermelon? I mean, that's just because he's a watermelon farmer, and that's just his personality. So he's Eddie Haskell to me.
So I don't know. I don't know if you see this guy, the doing it for Turi guy on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok. I'm like 900 years old.
Okay, well, this guy, I don't know. I think he has other social medias too, but he is a huge fan of Terry Labonte, allegedly. and acts, Terry wouldn't have drove at number 5 that way, blah, blah, this. I mean, he just he's putting on a typical NASCAR fan act. He actually posted a video the other day that said, you can say what you, and this was not an act. He said, say what you want to, but Ross Chastain is today's Dale Earnhardt. He does not give a crap about you or anybody else. All he cares about is getting the dub, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get it.
In the car though. Out of the car, he wants to be Jeff Gordon, which I think is the Eddie Haskell thing. You got to pick. You got to pick a guy, right? That's why he's Eddie Haskell, because he absolutely is.
Can't be all shucks.
Yes.
As we said in the show earlier, sometimes you just got to put on the black hat, right?
For sure. For sure. I mean, look at Kyle Busch. I mean, he wears that, and he's very successful because he wears that. He's not nearly as popular, boos, cheers, whatever, if he's just Kyle Busch driving the way he drives and doesn't, wear the black hat. And the sport needs it. The sport needs more than one. I mean, you had Tony Stewart was black hat for a long time as well. I mean, you need those guys.
As we move to Michigan, Heather, what do we expect this weekend?
It's kind of your typical high-speed intermediate track, 2-mile track, banks in the corners, 18 degrees, I think. So not super high, but there's some banking in there. They'll be fast. There might be a little bit of drafting going on. But we haven't run really, I guess, since Nashville, really an intermediate track, which was, well over a month ago, about 6 weeks ago when they were in Nashville. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. It's really funny because each week a different manufacturer shows up and is fast, and it doesn't seem to be specific to track or to week to week. Just some people hit on it and some people don't. So it's always a little bit of a wild card as far as who was fast. The Fords were fastest last week, and they haven't been particularly great on road courses. But I kind of had a feeling they'd figure some things out. This is a huge race for Ford and Chevy because Detroit is obviously, Motor City and their home bases. So they'll be, putting on their best suits and trying to get that win because it means a whole lot to those manufacturers.
With that being said, tell us who's going to win.
Oh, goodness. When last time they were at a intermediate track, it was the Toyotas that were the fast. The Toyota would love to ruin things for Chevy and Ford at their home track. I think I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. He needs a win. And like I said, the last time they were on these intermediate type tracks and all year when they've been on these kind of tracks, the Toyotas have been fast. So because he needs a win, he's sitting there right on the edge and not making the playoffs. And he's made the Final Four several years in a row. So I'm going to go with Truex. We'll see what happens. I cursed Ryan Blaney last week, so I hope I don't do the same for Truex.
I think it's okay. It's all right. Heather Williams, WCYB TV, always a pleasure. Follow her on Twitter at WCYB_Heather for not just NASCAR news, but all the news in the Bristol area and around East Tennessee, because apparently she's worried about ETSU right now. So we'll see who the next girls basketball or women's basketball coach is at.
They did appoint one of the assistants as acting head coach is what they called her. And when we talked to the athletic director today, the interim athletic director, they are not sure exactly what they're going to do with her as far as if they're going to eventually make her interim and let her coach out the season. She's only been an assistant coach here for 1 year because Simon was only here for 1 year. So, and she's pretty young. So I don't know if they're going to let her coach out the season, if they're going to bring someone in. I think they would probably prefer to bring someone in, but I mean, at this late hour, I don't know who you can get. So it's still up in the air what they're going to do with that for sure.
There you go. Heather Williams, WCYB TV, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got some hoops to talk about, and not ETSU hoops, Mo. So
good.
We do have a lot of updates around college hoops going on right now. So we'll talk about it when we come back on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones and Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Oh, yeah. What's going on, Mo? Welcome back in. It's Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And, Mo, kind of a little breaking news actually here in the world of women's basketball. I just got a notification that Paige Buchers has torn her ACL and is out for the year.
I just saw that here during the break, scrolling through Twitter as I am wont to do. Joe Rexroad from The Athletic just tweets brutal 2 minutes ago. But Chantel Jennings, Paige Buchers tore her ACL in a pickup game on Monday per UConn.
Oh,
22-23 season. So
that is in fact #brutal.
Brutal, no doubt. Yeah, I mean,
as
much as I am not a UConn fan, you hate to see that. I mean,
never.
She's certainly one of the stars of women's college basketball right now, and it's just not good for the sport. You hate to see it.
That's the thing, is it's not good for the sport. And I mean, you just never want a player to be injured. I mean, nobody roots for injuries.
No, I mean, whether it's a team you like or whether it's a team you don't like, you don't want to see injuries, just because if it's a team you don't like, you don't want them to have any excuses when a team that you do like beats them.
That's right.
So
our thoughts will go out to her as she hits the recovery trail, I'm sure, very quickly.
No doubt.
A couple things I wanted to touch on here in the world of vol hoops anyway. It was announced that Aiden Holloway, a top 5 recruit, chose Auburn over Tennessee in the last couple of days. So that's unfortunate. Said that Auburn's style of play was something that he preferred over Tennessee's. So it's not what you want to hear, but, not unheard of when you're talking about Bruce Pearl. He does play a fantastic style of basketball. So,
well, I mean, whoever said if you're not playing defense, you're not going to play, probably had Rick's teams in mind. So, and that's not going to resonate with every 18-year-old coming out of high school. So,
sure, absolutely. I mean, and I don't know how much of an impact Auburn's performance against the Israeli national team had on this kid, but they did put up triple digits against them a couple days ago. So, when you're scoring 100 points, and they do score a lot of points down on the plains.
A lot. Yeah.
Kids are going to be excited about playing in that sort of system. And obviously, I mean, it's not like that, Auburn's not a winning program. This is a very good basketball program that Bruce Pearl has down there. And so, you expect to have to fight hard against programs of that caliber to sign guys like Aiden Holloway. So,
but I mean, you can't win if you don't play. So, I mean, to be in the mix on guys like that is, it's kind of where it starts. And as long as you're in the mix, you're going to get some of those guys. You're not going to get all of them, but you're going to get a pretty good few. And UT is at that level at this point where they should be able to go into virtually any living room in the country and talk to kids.
Well, and here's the thing. Auburn's had 2 top 5 draft picks in the last 3 years.
Doesn't hurt.
that probably, is a selling point for that program. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Also, tickets are on sale for Tennessee's game against Colorado that will be taking place here in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. I looked up the club level tickets, Mo, $35. I'm in at club level for 35. Heck yeah. Now, I don't know if the club is open, if the entire club level is open during that. But
I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not sure how excited I am about Colorado. UT Colorado either. But I mean, the opportunity to see UT in Nashville without it being at Memorial, I'm sure will be an attraction for a number of folks. So
just not for Penny. He did not want to see Tennessee in Bridgestone at all. And he had no chance whatsoever.
Well, he probably wouldn't have minded watching.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't against his team.
Yeah. Wow.
And
long memories.
And finally, Tennessee did get there. I guess last week it was announced that they will play Butler in the opening game of the battle for Atlantis, and Tennessee 0-1 against the Bulldogs all time.
Butler's been pretty good.
This is a really good matchup for Tennessee. Again, you're talking about it, and you're talking about Power 5 teams. Colorado, Pac-12. Butler is not a Power 5, but they're in that perennial top 25 mid-major category. So these are some pretty big games for what is it called? Not RPI anymore.
Oh,
that
I don't know what it's called. Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't know what it's called at this
point. The
new
RPI. It's important for that. So that's kind of it's big to have these type of games. I think Tennessee's going to they're going to need to win a few of those especially after last year and the debacle that was the 3 seed and then the second round and all of it that goes with it. But these are the kind of games that get you prepared for March and April. So
yeah, also playing in that event are BYU, Dayton, Kansas, NC State, USC. I assume that to be Southern Cal, and Wisconsin.
Yes, it is Southern Cal. So there you go. It's a pretty big tournament. You want to play some big time names down there, and so looking forward to seeing Tennessee in that.
Finally, meanwhile, hold up before we get away from that. Apparently, UT's women are also playing in the Battle for Atlantis in the women's tournament. A field that will also include Louisville, South Dakota State, Rutgers, UCLA, Marquette, Texas, and Gonzaga. And that is scheduled November 19th through Rutgers. What are Rutgers?
Well, Rutgers featuring former Tennessee standout Mississippi State's coach.
Mississippi State's coach.
What is her name?
Nikki McRae?
Yes.
She's not there anymore.
She's back, I believe.
Is she at Rutgers now? Is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
that's what I'm telling you. She is at Rutgers.
Huh.
Yes.
Okay.
that is what I'm saying. And I could not get her name out to save my life, but that's what she is, an assistant coach under Coquise
Washington. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So apparently she's feeling better. And hey, I'm so glad she is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I had to step away at Mississippi State over some health issues, had previously battled cancer. And so, like you said, apparently she is feeling and doing better. And that's great to see. So.
Speaking of health issues, before we get out of here, I want to quickly mention that Eli Gold will not be on the call for at least week 1 for Alabama against Utah State, as he is battling some health issues that is going to keep him out of the booth, and Chris Stewart will take over for the Crimson Tide in that role.
Well, you hate to hear that, you hate to see that, but I think if there's a game that Eli Gold could afford to miss, it's probably Utah State.
There's that. Oh man. All right, let's take a short break here and get to some halftime. Got a couple things I want to share with you, Mo. So we'll be back on Main Street Sports today after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Mo, it's halftime and we've got Wild and Wacky Wednesday coming up, but I don't think we're going to be able to get to everything that I've got for Wild and Wacky. So I wanted to bring this up real quick because
so you're just kind of setting the table for okay. All right, go ahead.
That's exactly what I would just like to throw this out there that if you're going to try to smuggle drugs. Your best bet is not food containers. And if you're trying to smuggle 91,000 fentanyl pills, I don't think Pringles is the way to go. Now listen, apparently the idea was to try and get through the TSA of all things with drugs in like 8 or 9. I'm sorry, not Pringles, but the Lay's version of Pringles.
Still the little canister thingies,
Yeah.
right?
Aren't
those going to rattle? I mean, even if you put chips above and below them, the pills are still going to rattle, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what fentanyl pills look like, and I don't know what 91,000 of them is going to look like, but it doesn't strike me as a sound idea. But
well, the thing is, they put them in a plastic bag and try to make it tight, so that it wouldn't rattle like that. But I mean, anybody with any sort of sense, one, doesn't keep potato chips in a duffel bag. This is where I'm getting confused. Is your potato chips are in a duffel bag. That right there.
Strike one. Right?
I'm going, okay, this doesn't make any sense. What are we doing?
This looks a little shady.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway,
how many canisters does it take?
Well, apparently,
how many were there?
I see 5 in this picture. So 5.
Wow.
And I don't know if there were any chips on top of it, but I would be curious to know. Because, you could take some chips out, like you said, put some chips on top, and then nobody thinks to look, right?
Maybe. But if you just throw them in the canister, then you're really kind of rolling the dice there.
It's a roll of the dice. I don't know, man. I'm just saying that there are better ways. There have to be better ways. I mean,
well, you would think that there are better ways. I don't know what they are because I'm
not trying.
No, as my mom once told me, I'm too pretty for jail. I can't do it.
This. But it just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think potato chips are the way I'm going to go. But anyway, we need to talk about the Braves, and we need to do so here on the other side of a quick break. So we're going to take said break and come back with some Braves talk. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Be back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing. Yeah, we're good. So talk a little Braves, Mo. What do you say?
I might as well.
And obviously we've talked about a little bit about the fact that they lost today, but we can at least talk about the positive of the trade deadline.
No doubt. I mean, and you saw some of that today. Even Robbie Grossman comes in and gets a pinch hit double to spark a would-be comeback that ultimately fell short there in the eighth. As while I was out of the room, the Braves gave up 3 runs in the top of the eighth, I guess it was, to squander a 1-0 lead. And
to Nick Castellanos, who had not hit a home run in a month, had not hit one since June 30th.
Well, it wasn't like he was never going to hit one, but I mean, my bigger concern is it's tough to win ball games 1-0.
And here's the thing, and as much as we've talked about, the issues that Charlie Morton has had, 2.5 is his average run support. 2.5. And got one today.
He's thrown 6+ shutout innings in 2 of his last 3 starts. And I mean, it's tough. He left with the lead today, 1-0, but you need to be able to score more than that. If you can hold a team to 3 runs, you feel like you got a chance, and they had a chance, just couldn't cash in late. And as we talk about the Braves trade deadline acquisitions, the Phillies threw one out there, David Robertson, in the ninth, and shut down the Braves to put that one away. So that's a tough one, because it would have extended the winning streak to 5 going into Citi Field for this big 4-day, 5-game series. Would have been nice to have gone in there with that kind of momentum. I don't know how much one game changes anything, but this is just one that you kind of feel like you should have got against a Philadelphia team that isn't great.
They're not great. I agree with you. But, the thing about this particular team is that kind of the old school Braves mentality, where they struggle to beat teams that are kind of even with them. Now, obviously, they've beaten some teams that aren't as good, and sometimes they beat a lot of teams that are better. But they've split the entire season series with the Phillies, and it just doesn't feel like that they should be splitting series with Philadelphia. I mean, but you also have to remember, they're not. The Phillies are still the third place team in the NL East. Yes, they've lost a lot, but they're still not bad. They still have Zach Wheeler. They still have Aaron Nola. They still have some really good ball teams.
They don't have Bryce Harper.
Right.
And I mean, you're playing with 2. I mean, when you look out there at the outfield and you see a DH and Kyle Schwarber and whatever it is that Nick Castellanos is, I mean, they're hitters. And you've just kind of found positions for them, or put them in positions, because it's kind of like I said about the Dodgers a few days ago. It just seems like they just collect parts and put them wherever, and not necessarily a fit. But bottom line, you're right. You just don't feel like you should lose a lot of games to that Philadelphia team, especially as currently constructed.
You shouldn't be 6-6 against them.
Yeah.
For the season. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And as good as Spencer Strider was last night specifically, and the Braves obviously scored 13 runs, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe they left all the runs on the field last night.
Well, and you mentioned that Charlie Morton only gets 2.5 runs of run support on average, and I think Strider has been the biggest beneficiary of the Braves offense over the course of the season. I don't know how
not necessarily needing it.
Hey, yeah. I mean, when he's striking out 13 and 6 2/3, it's not like he needs a whole lot of help offensively, but they certainly gave it to him last night.
I think I heard Chip say last night that he has 130 something strikeouts in 85 innings.
87, I believe it is. Yeah.
So. That's insane. I mean, this is a guy who can strike out 300 in a season if,
with 20 something starts. Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, is he our potential Jacob deGrom?
We'll find out this weekend.
I guess we will,
because I think that's the matchup.
It is. Boy, that's a lot of triple digits in one game.
Man. And it's interesting. They listening to part of the game last night, somebody made the comment that Strider's triple digits look a little different from other pitchers as triple digits because of his stature relative to other taller pitchers. It kind of comes from a different place, a different eye level, different arm slot, that kind of thing, and maybe gives the illusion that he's throwing even faster than he is.
Well, whatever it is, it's working, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's on our side.
Don't mess with it. Absolutely, yeah.
And don't mess with it. That's the key. All right. Well, Braves again split the 2-game set with the Phillies. They'll continue to hope that the Mets can lose to the Nationals. That'd be great. That's
we take that.
Yeah, we're not going to bank on that, right? But the Braves are currently 3 games out, 6-4 in their last 10, and again that stopped a short winning streak. So
yeah.
We'll take another break. When we come back, we should have scheduled to be joined by the voice of Ohio State, Paul Kills. So
before we do,
go ahead. Oh, that's right. It is this day in Bravo's history.
August 3rd, 1996, Brad Woodall threw 2 2/3 hitless, scoreless innings to pick up the victory as Atlanta downed the host Dodgers 5-3 in 18 innings. Mike Mordecai's one-out single scored Marquise Grissom to snap a 3-3 deadlock, and Ryan Klesko drove in Mordecai for a 2-run cushion before Woodall retired L.A. in order in the bottom of the 18th.
Mike Mordecai, the pride of Gadsden, Alabama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mordecai Sporting Goods, baby.
I figured if we could get a Dodgers mention in on this day, that would probably be a good thing as well. So
absolutely. And, I always love beating the Dodgers, but at least it was fun to listen to them, even if we didn't want them to win.
Exactly.
All right. We're going to take that break now. When we come back, Paul Kills joins us on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton. We're doing a little dancing here, Mo. We have to. I like to at least appear as if I'm looking at you on the screen. So I have to be on this side because this is where I am when we're in studio, right? I'm on this side of the screen. I feel weird being on the other side trying to look this way. It doesn't really work.
Hello.
There's Paul Keels, Ohio State.
Hello.
Hey, Paul, how are you? This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. How's it going?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am doing just fine. We appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today as we continue our preview coverage of college sports from around the country and talking a little Big Ten football. Mo, are you there? We somehow have lost Mo's mic. So
how about now?
Hey, there you are.
There we go. Yeah. Sorry about that. That was on my end. My bad. Paul, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, man.
My pleasure, Mo. How you doing?
Well, when I'm doing better when I turn my mute button off. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You know, as Chris was saying, we've kind of started looking at some college football and some college football conferences, and you can't look at college football for long without looking at the Big 10, 12, 14, whatever it is that they are. But and it's a pretty good get to get the play-by-play announcer for the Ohio State University, I think, because typically you guys have a say in, if not winning that thing, who's going to win it. So doesn't seem like this year is going to be a whole lot different.
It doesn't appear so, Mo. Now, the thing that everybody's really curious to watch is how much improvement will Ohio State be able to display on defense. Offensively, they've got a ton of firepower to be able to do a lot of things, it would appear, when you consider C.J. Stroud coming back. The receiving group, a group of running backs that have shown they can make big plays. An offensive line that's got to replace a couple of starters, but guys that have played a lot of football. It's a matter of how the defense can improve on what they did a year ago with a new defensive coordinator, with almost an entirely new defensive staff and a new defensive scheme that we're all anxious to see what's going to be different and how will it look.
Going away from Ohio State just for a second, because I think when you talk about Big Ten football from last year, obviously Mel Tucker and Michigan State were the biggest story. You know, what's the feeling up that way as far as how they follow up on what they were able to get accomplished last year?
You know, and it's interesting you bring them up because as good a season as they had, boy, they came in and laid an egg in Columbus when they came to play Ohio State last year. The Buckeyes really did a good job of bottling up their running back that just set the world on fire. And Mel, who used to be an assistant here, really worked the transfer portal to reload that football program. I think now everybody's anxious to see, can there be some stability? With what Peyton Thorne did at quarterback, their receiving group with Jaden Reed. And traditionally, Michigan State has always been a team that defensively shows good secondaries, and I think we'll see that again this year. It's how do they follow it up? You know, Kenneth Williams certainly set the world on fire running the football, but they've got to replace him. So, you know, Michigan State certainly has put their name into a team that people have to pay attention to, but you know, then you also have to include Michigan in there, being that they're the team that won the championship last year in the conference.
Hey, speaking on the phone with Paul Keels, play-by-play voice of Ohio State, when you are, you know, obviously that East Division is just stacked and loaded with Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, even beyond that with Penn State, who always seems to have a pretty darn good football team as well. Then you look into the Western side where it's always kind of a toss up, but it seems like each and every year we talk about Wisconsin as the favorite in this division, and then it's everybody else. On that western side, is there anything over there that can compete with the East at all?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, Chris. I think that's what everybody in the West is hoping to see. Wisconsin has been, for the most part, the team that's made the most noise in the West, even though they had a little bit of a drop-off last year. Their situation will revolve around Graham Mertz, their quarterback. Can he improve? Can he not be a turnover-prone signal caller, which is what kind of would get them sideways at times last year? We know that traditionally they're going to run the football well. They've got two backs coming in that really have shown the ability to do that. A lot of indication that their offensive line is going to be at the standard that we're accustomed to seeing Wisconsin's offensive line. And defensively, Jim Leonard is a guy that really has gotten people's attention with how fast he has kind of moved up the ranks with as well as he's done as a defensive coordinator. But Iowa is one of those that you never discount them. Certainly Kirk Ferentz, not only with what he's done with his longevity, but with the talent that they've been able to develop, they always become a factor. And Minnesota, I believe Tanner Morgan comes back for a sixth or seventh year. I can't remember which one. You've got to think about Minnesota, especially if their running back, Mohamed Ibrahim, comes back healthy after suffering an injury last year. But, the Northwestern is one of those. They came off a horrible year last year. They're not expected to do well, but every time they're not expected to do well, Pat Fitzgerald's team jumps up and plays well. But to answer your question, they still have to be able to show on the field that they can compete and contend with the teams that come out of the East.
Paul, as you went through the Big Ten West Division, you mentioned about 5 different teams, and one of the teams that you did not mention was Nebraska, and Chris knew that I was going to go here. How far does Scott Frost get into this season?
I got to think he's Mo. That's a tough one. Nebraska is not one that's prone to make quick, rash decisions. I think you've seen that in the past, and they've really invested a lot in Scott Frost, just in time and patience, in trying to really establish some stability. He completely redid his offensive coaching staff, letting most of his staff go before the season ended last year. I think they've got to show that they not only can compete, but they can win close games. I forget what the stat is, but they had 8 games last year, I think, that they lost by 1 possession. So they've got to be able to show, number one, that they can win the close games. Number two, that they can contend to, at least for Nebraska, just to get into a bowl game. It's just really amazing that a program that has the history and the tradition they have, that they've fallen the way they have. You've got to admire the patience the administration has shown with Scott Frost. But they've got to be able to, it'd be easy to say they've got to be able to compete, but they've got to be able to show that they can win games, close games or not.
Yeah, you mentioned the tradition, but also the resources that they have at Nebraska. It's almost it's inexplicable how they've gotten here, I think. Now, you're probably a lot closer to it than I am, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense from where we're looking.
And it seems as though their drop-off really started a year or two after they had moved into the Big Ten. And they were a great addition to the Big Ten. They wanted to be in the conference. It helped maintain some of the geographical feel of the conference, which now we know those are out the window. But, they just seem to, I don't know if it's, Mo, they're not recruiting the Chicago area or the Texas area like they used to. I think turnover on their coaching staff certainly hasn't helped them. It is hard to understand because it's a great tradition. It's a great following. I mean, their fans, despite the difficult years they've had, continue to support that football program. And, they're outside of Creighton basketball. They're the big sports program in the state of Nebraska. So there's a lot of pressure. And, I think, like I said, Nebraska and their administration, I think they deserve some credit for not making a rash hair trigger judgment and making a coaching change. And I think Scott Frost, because he's one of their own, that maybe buys him a little time. But this is certainly the season of decision for him. And they've got to show some of it early too, because I think for the player standpoint, you don't want them to have the feeling, here we go again. And certainly from the fans' perspective, they've got to be able to feel like there's some promise and reason to support them.
Well, who else are you going to support if you live there? I mean, I mean, there's not a whole lot of options out in Nebraska or anywhere nearby, to be
The
honest.
options are pretty slim. Yeah. Paul Keels, the voice of Ohio State football, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Paul, when I told Chris that we were going to have you on today, the thing that he asked me was, can we ask him about Ty Lockwood? I guess you're familiar with our local tight end prospect who had been committed to the Buckeyes until about 24 hours or so ago.
Mo, that's the thing. I think that's the problem with verbal commitments. That's all it is. It's verbal. It's not on paper. You know, there's a big deal here today in Columbus because there's a 4-star basketball prospect, a local kid who just verbally committed to Ohio State for basketball for 2023. And it's great. It's exciting. It gets you enthusiastic about what may be coming. But that's all it is. It's verbal. And, you guys know everything is so competitive when it comes to recruiting and college athletes, and especially with the kind of programs you're talking about, whether it's Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia. Verbal commitment doesn't really mean a whole lot. And that's a tough decision for kids, too. I mean, these are young men that 17, 18 years old that are having to make what could be a life-changing decision. You just hope the best for the young man. And, it's unfortunate that people may feel disappointment about it, but that's kind of the nature of recruiting. If a guy verbally commits, a lot of coaches don't want him to take any more official visits, but they can't enforce that. They can't make that happen. So it's not the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
There you go. It is interesting that you say that, because I've had a conversation with a softball parent over the weekend that a Power 5 softball coach basically said, if you go on any more visits, you don't have a scholarship offer here anymore. And a lot of kids, if that's your dream, it's hard not to listen. But luckily, I don't think Ryan Day would be that kind of coach, and it doesn't sound like he is. And obviously it is unfortunate for the Ohio State folks, but I think that you're right. It's just part of the process, and we all know that going in, right?
Exactly, Chris. And you're right. Ryan Day is not that kind of a coach. I think why he's continued to have so much success recruiting is because of the individual he is. Just today, the big news about Ryan Day, he and his wife donated $1 million to a mental health research fund that's going to be connected to the Ohio State Medical Center. So, now what does that mean for recruiting? Not really a whole lot, but, you kind of encourage a player if they're going to verbally commit to not take any more visits, but they're not the kind of coaches here at Ohio State or program that's going to threaten to take away an offer just because they go and visit somebody else. But, you want to, if somebody decides they want to be someplace else, you don't want to hold a player, regardless of their age or their class, someplace that they don't want to be. That doesn't do anybody any good. You wish them the best. And now with the day and age of the transfer portal, you never know how things might circle around.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You got to be careful, because, hey, you never know. In a year or two, he might say, I'd like to come back to Ohio State if that's okay with you, Coach. You never know.
No question.
Paul Keels, voice of Ohio State football, here with us on Main Street Sports today. And we certainly appreciate having you on the line with us and talking a little Big Ten. If not Ohio State, who is the favorite out to take home the Big Ten crown? Put you on the spot.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think you have to give a little consideration to the defending champions, Michigan. I certainly think that Penn State's a program that kind of lurks there, especially with the veteran quarterback and Sean Clifford coming back. And there certainly is some optimism about Wisconsin, what they're building, what they're doing with their experience. So those would probably be the first ones I would think about, if not Ohio State.
There you go. All right. Well, Paul, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we look forward to talking with you in the future and all of your knowledge and listening to you on game day.
Well, I appreciate it, Chris. And Mo, nice to talk to you again.
Good talking to you, Paul. We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
All righty. Paul Keels, by the way, the Ohio Sportscaster of the Year for 2021 by the National Sports Media Association.
Is that good? That seems good.
I'd say that's pretty good.
Well, speaking of sports in Ohio, Mo, we have some breaking news that we'll get to on the other side of a break. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday, but first, breaking news. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this. Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton, and it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. But first, a little breaking news says Mo left us. He gone. Well, I will tell you a little breaking news here. The National Football League, Billy, if you want to jump in here and say what's up, the National Football League has filed an appeal in the suspension of Deshaun Watson. So what that means.
Oh, looks like we got Mo back.
Mo's back. Hey, all right. Well, you stay in here. There you are. Okay, so the NFL has filed an appeal in the Deshaun Watson case, which means they asked a third-party judge to hear the cases and to rule on the cases. But now that they have their ruling, they were like, we don't really like that, so we're just going to hear it ourselves. We'll make the ruling after all.
Yeah, there's so much going on there.
This is the weird. Speaking of Wild and Wacky Wednesday, this is the weirdest process in the history of sports, is it not?
But I told you when we discussed this either yesterday or Monday that the NFL did, have the opportunity to appeal just like the NFLPA did, and it wouldn't shock me if they didn't do something at least for the optics of we wanted him to have a stronger penalty than what he got from the arbitration process, I guess. So,
but the problem is that it's not just the optics. I mean, the NFL and Roger Goodell are the ones who either hear the appeal and rule on it, or choose who does hear the appeal. So I mean the process. I'm just the
game
process
is
in
rigged.
itself
You know?
exactly.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
ridiculous. And
I-
according to at least one report, they're looking for the full season and $10 million, which would be his 2021 salary.
That's not 6 games.
And
Meanwhile, he's out there practicing, so that's what makes it weird.
I don't know what you like. Again, the process is what's weird to me. I don't like the process. If you're going to ask a third party to hear both sides and then make a ruling, and on top of that, you asked a third party who is fluent in law as a former judge, I don't know why you can't respect that ruling. That's the issue that I have with it. Is just, I mean, why even bring her in?
It does almost seem like it was a waste of time to even involve that level of decision making, I guess. Because what if the NFLPA had appealed it? And they couldn't bring in their own or name their own arbiter in the process. The game is rigged.
The game is rigged. I liked the RG3 tweet, by the way, who said, he replied to Adam Schefter's tweet and said, let's see here. When protecting the brand and protecting women align, the NFL holds no punches. So it's interesting that he would say that, considering the reports out there about RG3 and why he may or may not have gotten a job offer from a certain broadcast network. So, I mean, it is interesting that it appears that the NFL and protecting women have come together in this particular instance. This is going to be interesting. I am. We all know what the shield means.
I just think that the shield, and I think that the NFL is primarily focused on protecting the shield and the NFL, and if in doing so they protect anything else, then that's fantastic. But if they don't, it's no big deal.
That's exactly what I was talking about. That is it right there. It has nothing to do with anything else other than the shield.
Nope.
You protect the shield, and anything else that gets, collateral protection.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That just kind of happens if it happens, and if it doesn't, then oh well.
Exactly. There you go. All right, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. I want to get one thing before we get out of here because we don't have a whole lot of time. But I did want to talk about let's see, where is it? Here we go. A walrus named Freya is sinking boats and causing mayhem in Norway. That's right. An international icon Freya is becoming. But the stress of the fame has apparently become bothersome for her. So Freya is taking up residence in Norway harbors, hauling herself around to lounge up on boats. And the problem is that she's 1,500 pounds. And, well, that's a problem because it's sinking boats.
A 1,500-pound walrus.
That's correct. What do you do with that? You can't.
I don't think you do anything with it.
Yeah, you can't do anything at that point.
I think you're kind of at her mercy at that point. Goodness.
Now,
Locals have flocked to watch the 1,300-pound marine mammal eat, sunbathe, and mostly sleep on boats, according to NBCNews.com. This is
Mostly sleep on boats.
and here's the thing: is apparently they're everyone wants to see Freya, and according to I cannot pronounce this name. RUNEAAE is the RUNE first name, last name AAE.
It's Norwegian, so
and they are a walrus expert. She needs to relax for up to 20 hours a day. When she is constantly stressed out by people and their presence, it is not good for her. The area around Freya should be cordoned off to protect her and keep people away. So there you go. Can't relax because it's a 1,500-pound famous walrus, and yeah.
Where's Freya? That's the question of the summer in Norway.
She needs to be in Denmark apparently and get away from these people.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Poor Freya. That's all I'm saying.
Poor boats.
Poor everyone. Everyone involved is just not. This is not good for Freya. Oh man. Well, that's going to do it for our Wednesday show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on Main Street Sports today. We'll be back tomorrow at 2:00. It is Thursday, which means we'll have Coach's Corner and we will preview some more college football. So come back with us. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, follow us on Twitter at ms_sports today, at @MoPatton_sports, and at ChrisYao14. We appreciate it. And thanks to Billy Derrick for helping out today. We will be back tomorrow again, 2:00. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Have a good one.